Kindness and loyalty can become the most unforgiving mistakes. You're not valued for your genuine personality, but for what others can gain from you. As long as you don't notice it, they turn you into an inexhaustible resource. Machiavelli, with his sharp understanding of human behavior, warned that if you are not the one making use of others, they will use you, often without your awareness, until it's too late. Welcome to Machiavelli. Here you will uncover how real power works, from the psychology of influence to the strategies that have moved empires and manipulated crowds. All the things no one teaches you about leadership, ambition, emotional control, and mental warfare are found here. Get ready to see the world as it truly is, a game of intelligence, not of good intentions. Your support in someone's solitude, your comfort in their discomfort, your praise to boost a needy ego, your time, your energy, your resources. Rarely are they returned in proportion to what you give. Many will barely reciprocate, even as they smile and flatter you with enthusiasm. That Machiavellian mirror reveals that beneath politeness often lies self-interest, and the pursuit of personal gain tends to outweigh genuine cooperation. Those interactions often prove to be mere preludes to demands, or evidence that selfless friendship expired the moment my resources ran dry, whether time, attention, or support. This is not cynicism, but clarity in how Machiavelli analyzed the mechanics of human relationships, not the outward appearance, but what happens behind the curtain. How can one detect that hidden scheme before becoming entangled? What if his insights were not some abstract theory, but an accurate reflection of what we experience daily? Let us not mistake his perspective for misanthropy. He understood deeply the motivations that drive us. His intent was not to paint life in dark tones, but to strip away the illusion of a perfectly fair world where goodness always triumphs. Once the real rules of the game are exposed, we can act with full awareness, before being quietly displaced. Those who over-explain their motives to seek approval, forgive too easily, give up their space, offer unconditional help, and remain where their presence isn't valued, often end up as victims, drained without mercy, discarded when no longer useful, or replaced by a more convenient option. Why does this happen? Because they assume others think like them. If I'm loyal, they'll reciprocate. If I help from the heart, they'll return the favor. If I stick around during hard times, they'll acknowledge it. The unpopular truth Machiavelli revealed is different. People reflect whatever benefits them at any given time, and if they take advantage of you, it's because it serves their interest. These patterns repeat until a firm boundary is set. This is what Machiavelli addressed with ruthless accuracy. Human nature doesn't change, and its primary driver is self-interest. I learned this firsthand by offering my help over and over, expecting at least a gesture of gratitude and receiving only more requests. It was like trying to fill a bottomless barrel. The Florentine thinker didn't advocate resentment, but rather a realistic evaluation of the balance between what is given and what is received. Does this mean we must adopt the coldness of those calculating individuals? Or is it possible to remain warm-hearted without becoming a constant target? Machiavelli understood something crucial that sets him apart from his followers. Strength doesn't come from indiscriminate generosity. It emerges from choosing with discernment to whom, when, and to what extent we give our resources. Time, attention, and energy should be treated like precious currency. Others already follow this principle, even if subtly, because the illusion of universal generosity deceives. In reality, once someone realizes how easily they can get your unconditional loyalty, your forgiveness without a change in behavior, and your effort at no cost, they will take advantage of it. Not out of malice, but because ease, convenience, and immediate access are irresistible. And you will remain their preferred option unless you start managing what you offer with intention. Acting by the same principles others already use might seem provocative. Yet Machiavelli did not promote malicious manipulation, but calculated interaction. He encouraged us to value what we give and to avoid pouring it out recklessly. I recall times when my time and advice were taken for granted. When I began limiting my availability, others' attitudes changed. They appreciated what was no longer unlimited. The lesson lies in ruling your own life intelligently, not functioning as a passive provider. How do we gain this control without falling into constant suspicion? We were taught that exploiting others is blameworthy, but no one warned us that everyone does it, to varying degrees, consciously or not, seeking personal or shared gain. If we give endlessly, we end up depleted and eventually replaced by someone more accessible. But by clearly defining what others expect from us, by setting the terms and timing of what we provide, and by ending relationships when reciprocity fades, we stop being used and begin to act with purpose. In doing so, we preserve our integrity and our resources, just as Machiavelli would have advised. If Machiavelli were alive today, he might warn, don't become a naive idealist in a world ruled by pragmatic investors. Time and again, I witnessed talented individuals wasting their strength on people who fail to appreciate their efforts, only to wonder later why their lives remain stagnant. Machiavelli advised taking control, becoming the master of one's own ship rather than drifting in the currents of others' interests. But what if you're already entangled in that kind of relationship? How can you distinguish between those who truly need support and those who thrive on your generosity? You don't realize all at once that you're being used. It's a gradual process, almost invisible, filled with polite smiles, half-hearted thank yous, and seemingly sincere explanations. By the time you recognize your inner depletion, the cost has already been high. This is why Machiavelli didn't respond passively to betrayal. He learned to spot the faintest signs of an approaching storm in its early stages. In an environment much like our own, only those with sharpened instincts avoid being exploited. They sense when the hidden game begins. You may not have seen them in a while, but as soon as they need wise counsel, emotional support, or simply a place to unload their frustrations, they reappear without hesitation. They're not interested in your achievements or your struggles. They never ask how you're doing. To them, you're not a person or a confidant, but a reliable resource, always available. And when you're no longer of use, once your support runs dry or you choose to stop giving, they vanish from your life without a word. Machiavelli spoke of the courtier who could detect even the slightest change in a ruler's mood, not out of paranoia, but out of vital caution. Too often, we ignore such cues, chalking them up to chance or someone else's bad day, only to regret it when the consequences unfold. He believed intuition becomes powerful when grounded in constant observation. Picking up on subtle signs helps one steer clear of manipulation. Likewise, setting boundaries assertively doesn't fracture relationships. It reinforces self-respect. Some people demand your constant attention, expect immediate answers, and drain your time as if it were a free service. When you step back and protect your energy, they don't reflect on their behavior. Instead, they feel insulted and label you selfish. The reason is simple. They never built a genuine connection with you, only with the advantages you provided. When that flow ends, it feels to them like you've broken an unspoken deal. Machiavelli would describe such a relationship as parasitic, rooted in one-sided gain, not mutual loyalty. If you assume the world owes you nothing, you begin to reclaim your time and push back against unreasonable demands. You stop overexerting yourself to please others and stop sacrificing your own goals. Then the complaints arise. You've become so cold and distant. I thought you cared. It's not an honest concern. It's emotional blackmail. The moment you're no longer useful or convenient, they try to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. A simple principle, confirmed by experience, remains true. Those who only demand your attention fear your limits, while truly mature people respect them. Personal boundaries stop being rigid walls and become signals that show others how to treat you. I remember how hard it was to say no when I still craved approval. But once I managed it, I didn't feel guilt. I felt relief and dignity. Sometimes, a close relative or longtime friend uses your availability as a permanent shelter. When they stumble, you offer your support. When they complain about life, you listen and give advice. Yet despite your constant help, they repeat the same mistakes, draining your energy with endless laments, because they're not really seeking balance. Some people don't want to change. They want someone else to carry their burden. As long as they drift comfortably, they cling to whoever will solve their problems. They never face the need to stand on their own or embrace personal responsibility. Their admiration only appears after you've made sacrifices, your precious time, your well-planned projects, your boundaries, even your peace of mind. Their praise isn't for who you are, but for your willingness to give everything for their comfort. This isn't genuine affection, it's convenience worship. In this way, opportunists dominate empathetic people who keep a short leash. Once you understand this, delaying change only prolongs disappointment and emotional erosion. Helping those who resist their own growth only increases their suffering and your exhaustion. Redirecting your energy toward reciprocal relationships is far healthier. Walking away from those focused solely on their own comfort doesn't erase your empathy. It preserves mutual respect. In that obscure realm of human relationships, it's not necessary to become a ruthless manipulator or the kind of monster one may deeply resent. Nor is it required to adopt cruelty or cynicism. A single decisive move is enough. Abandoning the role of the systematically exploited victim and embracing a conscious, strategic posture, always focused on preserving one's integrity and personal growth. Perhaps for a long time you've remained on the defensive, safeguarding your sensitivity and clinging to the remnants of peace, hoping others would recognize your generosity. Yet Niccolò Machiavelli, a keen observer of human nature and intrigue, never waited passively. He knew how to influence people and situations to his advantage, without being labeled malevolent or disloyal. This shift in perspective, moving from being a resource constantly available to becoming the architect of your own path, means no longer being the target of others' strategies, but instead steering your own story. Experience shows that by clearly defining your goals and setting firm boundaries, one recovers energy, confidence, and, most importantly, self-respect. Did Machiavelli truly believe it was acceptable to take advantage of others, or was there a deeper defense mechanism embedded in his words? As uncomfortable as it may be, it's necessary to recognize that many of the connections we build are not grounded in pure generosity or balanced exchange. They are often veiled agreements, where each party seeks certain outcomes, some of them barely noticeable. You offer your time and receive, in return, a brief reprieve from your worries. You give loyalty and get the illusion of stability. You provide emotional refuge, and they respond with indecision and whims. The more harmonious this arrangement appears, the easier it becomes to overlook the underlying imbalance that, over time, proves damaging. A perceptive observer would raise two essential questions about any relationship. What does the other person truly expect, and what do I gain from this? If the evaluation shows that the scales tip too heavily in favor of the other, the wisest course is to step back, without drama or resentment. Remaining voluntarily in an unequal exchange is not an act of nobility, but a path that leads to depletion. Many continue giving because they believe it's the right thing to do, because of lingering guilt, or because they can't imagine behaving differently. At first, such a stance may seem admirable, even virtuous, until exhaustion eventually takes over. Machiavelli did not place faith in pure altruism. He only endorsed generosity that was intentional and strategic. He would ask, how does this action enrich life? What value does it add? What are the emotional and material implications? Will it foster growth in others or create indefinite dependence? If something didn't align with his long-term goals, he simply let it go. His approach wasn't one of insensitivity, but of deep clarity about life's governing principles. By transforming resources into genuine strategic assets, remorse gives way to a recognition of the outcomes generated by one's choices. This mindset is not a cynical pose, but a refined form of pragmatism aimed at self-preservation and growth. For years, I lived by the idea of giving without expectation, of leaving everything open-ended, until I realized my good intentions had turned into a quagmire that drained my energy and stifled my ambitions. Appreciating both what is given and what is received helped foster more balanced and authentic connections, without demanding compensation for every gesture or distrusting human kindness. In this way, genuine exchanges emerged, replacing harmful imbalances. Intellectual and emotional boundaries around time and energy ultimately function as a powerful form of protection. Machiavelli warned that those who wield authority neither rely on applause nor seek permission. They do not expose their inner selves to public judgment. They do only what is essential and present outcomes as accomplished facts. A victory achieved without prior announcement or noise strikes with greater force than any triumph proclaimed too early. Power shuns empty promises. It thrives on discreet actions and unexpected innovations that cannot be stopped because they arrive without warning. True dominion belongs to those who operate in the shadows and emerge only when the situation is already irreversible. The environment favors those who speak little and act boldly, who move in silence yet leave behind a trail of undeniable events, those who understand that revealing too much of their plans is tantamount to surrendering ground. Thus, over-explaining one's strategy or justifying every move weakens one's own position. Those who feel the need to explain their actions become prisoners of others' opinions. By contrast, those who move without announcing themselves shape the paths of others. Historical memory does not honor those who spoke endlessly, but those whose decisions altered the course of eras without ever declaring their intent. And this is just the beginning. Click on the next video to keep uncovering the secrets of Machiavelli, the brilliant minds of the past, and the mental weapons of the present. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember, knowledge is power, only if you know how to use it. See you in the next episode of Machiavello.